Hey guys, welcome to another Mr. R show. I'm Ashton,
Andy.
and guys, it's July, and that means it's time for another map.
Yeah.
So Andy, we're closing in there. We're only a few months away, and
Yeah. Can't
things
believe
are
it's July already, Ashton. It's
uh,
crazy.
yeah, it's closer to election day than it is 2019. So that's something to think about. This year has
Scary to
been
think about.
Yeah, this year has been very slow and painful and quick. I don't know why and how, but it's been such a year. So, Andy, we're going to do something different than our last few videos. We're going to do State of the Race. We're going to look at the RCP map first before we look at our individual prediction maps, which kind of shows who we think would win if Election Day was today. So
Yep.
please know that means today. But polls have been starting to just flood in. It's been a lot of polls, and I'm starting to love it because this is the time where you actually start getting real data and you start getting good data points and you can track trends and you can do stuff like that. And
This is your
it
Christmas, with all the polls coming. It's like a Christmas
oh
morning, opening
uh,
up all the boxes with polls in inside.
Yeah, it's like my Super Bowl on election day whenever I sit there and I actually analyze county by county certain states, and it is really fun to see who's overperforming, who's underperforming, stuff like that. So, Andy, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So, Andy, do you have any reaction to this RCP map?
So to clarify, this map I'm looking at, because I know this was your idea, and I'm still, getting the hang of this new segment we have. This is what the RCP. This is their average of all the polls together. What would happen right now? The gray, of course, or the no color being toss-ups, and then the red are more Trump, the blue are the more Biden. Correct, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This
So
is
looking,
their average and what they determine from polling and averaging all polls. That's RCP's business model, and they do a good job at it. So
all
this is a
right.
good resource to look at the current state of things as it is right now.
If you look at the map, I mean, not too much shockers there. I mean, there is, and I'll get to that in a second. But the main states aren't really shocking, with California, of course, being, and New York, of course, being Democrat. But the biggest thing to me is that the biggest states that were safe for the Republicans, especially Trump in 2016, aren't safe anymore. That, of course, being Texas. You look at that. This is the first time in a long time, a long, long time, that Texas has been, a 50-50 toss-up state. It just shows how crazy that is. Florida is always a toss-up. Georgia and North Carolina both toss-ups in the Southeast. So Trump isn't as strong in the Southeast as he was in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And the states that helped him win, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, those are states that it caused him to lose.
Yeah, I would say my big takeaway, and I think you were alluding to it, is there's a state in the central part of the nation that is gray that I don't think we are expecting at this point in time to be gray, and that is Missouri.
Yeah.
That's 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 crazy. Missouri is now considered a toss up. I think we'll see in our maps who we think will win it. But overall, it's a very interesting time to see Texas and Georgia and Missouri as toss up states. And that kind of just alludes to the fact that how much erosion has happened because of the virus and the response and stuff like that. And there's other factors in there. I'm sure some of the protest stuff had an effect, but I think the situation as a whole has clearly shown that Trump has gone down in standing somewhat. At least when you see 200 toss-ups, 200 electoral votes of toss-ups.
Yeah. I mean, another thing, just to echo that point, I was looking at kind of some polls that were saying, who do you think would do better in response to the virus? And the majority of people would say Joe Biden, even though he wasn't even president or even had to do anything with this virus. Him being not a senator, not a congressman, nothing, just kind of being there. So it is interesting to see that point, Ashton. It's just kind of why all these states are kind of, slowly eroding that were once solid red because of how impactful the virus has been on the nation lately. But that was our RCP average, kind of looking at toss ups and looking at how states are right now. We're going to move on now to our favorite part, of course, and that's our personal picks for our map predictions if the election was held today, or when you're
Mhm.
watching this, of course. Um, so, Ashton, do you want to start or do you want to give me the honor?
I'll say I've been kind of happy with just being ahead of the curve when it comes to certain states starting to show trend lines that I thought they would show, and they clearly have. I think I called Georgia and Texas weakening a lot sooner than most people. I think I called that what in March, Andy, is
Maybe something
when
like
I
that.
yeah, somewhere around that, because a lot of people thought the protest at that time was going to help Trump, and I went counter. Then that narrative, I was like, I don't think this is anything like 1960, and I think Trump is doing more things that I actually think will continue to hurt him. I mean, we're seeing him in polling in the high 30s now, and I feel like he could get down to 35. Do I think that will happen? No, but he keeps on digging his own ditch. So, Andy, here's my map.
Wow, it's all I can say. This is by far
Yeah.
the most of all the maps predictions we've done. This is by far the most lopsided, Ashton. It's
Yeah.
crazy how much Biden has this victory in your eyes. I mean, that is if I can count this up: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11. Only 15 states. You give Trump 15 states out of the 50 in our country. That is crazy. I'll let you explain it before I ask maybe some questions. Ashton, take it away.
Um. So it's starting to dawn on me that I thought there was a chance, especially in April and May, that if the virus started to kind of go down and the economy started going up a little bit, I thought this race could have probably regained some competitiveness. I still think Biden would have been in a stronger um, position than Trump, but he's still president, and if you have a good economy as president, you have a fighting chance. And it would have been still a tough race. Now I just see the situation, if I'm being honest, looking at the polling and everything, it's not just polling. I make some calls on this map where those are states where Biden isn't winning in polling, but I feel like two things are going to really kill Trump on election day. Number one, I feel like on day voting is going to lean heavily towards Biden. And I feel like mail in voting is going to lean heavily towards Biden when it normally doesn't. Because his attacks on mail in voting are going to do him a lot of damage. That's why there are certain states where I'm getting to the point where I'm probably going to mark them as a likely. Now, I'm almost there with Florida, making that a likely Biden state. Um,
Wow.
I just see it as almost a wave election, especially because those suburban voters, those women, college educated women voters, they are breaking heavily against Trump. Independents are breaking heavily against Trump. And if he can't do that and maintain his edge with rural voters and white working class voters with um, no college degree. Like there's a few polls that have shown Trump even tied among men. That is a deadly number. That's a number where if he's tied among men on election day and he loses women like 65-35, you're talking about he's losing easily states like North Carolina. Uh, he loses. I think he loses Texas. He loses Arizona easily, Pennsylvania easily. I mean, A lot of the things I think he's doing now with policing is probably going to affect him with minorities, especially African Americans. That's why I think he starts to lose states like Georgia and South Carolina. Um, so that's kind of my map. I know it's a very blue map. I think it's ironic. We started off this series with me more bullish on Trump than you, and it's kind of flipped, kind of turn around.
Yeah, that is funny to think about how, a first prediction map was, I want to say, February or March or April. You can go look
Hmm.
at that. I'm not entirely sure. It's been at least 3, 4 months, and we've kind of flipped the roles of like you said. I've been more supportive of Trump in the polls than you have. But the first question I have on looking at your map right now, other than of course Texas being leans Biden, which I'm not going to
Yeah.
ask a question. I think it's just a crazy point to see that you believe Texas is that far towards Biden. But the question I have to ask is if you look at South Carolina and
Hmm.
Georgia and North Carolina and Florida, right, the main southeast corridor. Um, I understand Florida. I understand North Carolina. Why would you say Georgia and South Carolina, specifically South Carolina, is going to be flipped to Biden this time around?
I think uh, I'm going against the grain on this. I feel like the voter participation is going to go up this election, and it's going to be to Trump's detriment. I feel like African American minority turnout in South Carolina is going to be a lot higher than normal, and I feel like that included with the independents breaking heavily for Trump, I think he's going to be surprised there. And for people's records, I actually called South Carolina one going to Democrat for the first time in 40 years. No one. I mean, no, not Cook, Insider, Political Report, not Larry Sabato. No one thought the Democrat had a chance in South Carolina won. And I called that because I thought and I saw on the ground that there was an energy. I thought the Democrat, especially in that district, could outdo and kind of shock the Republicans because they don't put money in South Carolina and they don't put a lot of effort there anymore. So I just feel like South Carolina is one of those states where Trump and his campaign is going to be caught very surprised on election day. Now, let me say on election day, I don't think any of these tilt blue states are going to be called. It's going to be close. They're going to be within 1%, 2% for whoever wins them. And I feel like Biden will come out on top at the end in those lean Democratic states. I think there's a good chance Texas, North Carolina, Ohio, and Florida are called on election night, even with mail in ballots awaiting.
That is a statement right there, Ashton. That is a big thing, a big problem for Trump, according to your map.
Yeah,
Moving
and
to
there was a poll that came out with Trump only winning South Carolina by 4 points at the magic number of 48. He's below 50. And those are the states, if you're below 50 as an incumbent, you can get picked off.
Yeah, we will be definitely, especially me in South Carolina, would definitely be looking out on election night for that. Moving on to just the second question I want to ask before getting into my personal polls and map is you look at the things that caused Trump to win the 2016 election, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
Hmm.
Specifically, Wisconsin, you have very, very close to being a toss up, but you have it leaning towards Biden. Why is Wisconsin, since your last map, if I recall, losing traction for Biden?
Losing Biden, traction for Biden. There were a few polls that showed Biden going down in percentage points. It's one of those states where I think Biden will win it, but there could be a few outlier polls. I take those into account and I look at it. So I was like, well, I'm not comfortable making it likely or lean. I feel like I really do believe Biden is more likely to win Arizona and Florida than he is to
Mhm.
win Wisconsin. That's how I view that. And North Carolina, same thing. Like more likely win Wisconsin. And I'm getting to the point where I'm barely more comfortable with calling Texas for Biden than I am Wisconsin.
Ashton, you got a crazy map to say the least, with Biden having 441 electoral votes versus 97 for Donald Trump. That's a crazy margin. It might, don't fact check me on this, but that might be the biggest blowout in presidential history. Ashton, can you
Modern,
modern presidential history?
modern. The biggest blowout, I believe, is technically Washington because he won every state. But if you're talking about modern history, you can cite Ronald Reagan winning every state but Minnesota. So
We'll see
it's
uh, how this blowout will be. If it may be, it might get to that Reagan stage, but we don't. I don't think so. I know you don't think so, according to your map. But
mhm. Not yet.
let's move on and let me show you guys my map. There you guys go. There is my July map. Ashton, any first initial reactions before I describe my map?
No, go ahead and describe it.
I have some very simple, easy things in California, New York, of course, going Biden. And the major things I have that I think are different than yours is Texas, of course, for me, still being a tilt towards Trump, along with Iowa and Georgia being tilts still. I just can't see those states as of this moment. There's still a lot more ground to cover, but this moment being Biden. I have Missouri being a lot safer for Trump than you do. And I think Florida, I have Biden. I think Ohio, I also have Biden. We agree with that. But some major states we have a little bit different, but we still have a really good, healthy margin across the board for me and you. I have
Mhm.
Biden at 352 and Trump at 186.
Okay, first off, I see you are a convert in the school of thinking Trump is going to lose Florida now. Um, you held
Yep.
on to him winning Florida for 2 months when I had him losing it.
First
What
map
made you?
I have done that has first map that I have done that has Trump losing Florida. So it's a big milestone for me, Ashton.
Yeah, I think it's you had him losing Wisconsin before Florida. So why is he losing Florida now in your eyes?
Florida is getting hit really, really hard with the. I wouldn't even call it a second wave of coronavirus because it never left. But this new huge surge of cases because of the opening of parks and because of opening of bars and grills and restaurants and all these different things that the Florida governor seems not to care about.
I think you guys can fact check me here, but I believe if Florida was its own country, it would be somewhere like the seventh or eighth worst country in the world as coronavirus, and that's insane.
I think I looked last night, and Florida is third in the United States in the coronavirus cases. So it is insane that it's happening right now. It's getting hit, like I said, really, really hard. I know. I last time I was in Florida was end of May. I went and got to see the first SpaceX launch that went to the International Space Station, which was cool. It wasn't really. It was affecting Florida, but not to the extent now with these new cases with July 4th causing such an explosion. People are starting to feel the effects of it, and I think it's still really close, and it's very close to 50-50. I would say 50, maybe 52-48. But with everything that's happening, with the economy, going down, with the virus cases going up, is going to cause Trump to lose just enough support in that state to cause him to lose.
Did you see the last poll that just came out today?
I know for sure it was Biden winning. I'm not entirely sure the exact.
It was Biden by 13,
The national or Florida?
Florida.
Florida is a tough state, and that will be a big one for Biden to win.
I mean, if he's up 13 in that poll, and it's a really good pollster, Quinnipiac, I can't say that correctly, but
What a big year.
it with the 3% margin, 1,000, it was around 900 voters. So you're talking about a 3% margin error. That means Biden could be winning anywhere from 10 to 16 points in Florida. And there was another poll that had him up 11 points in Florida, other one I believe around 9 or 10. So you clearly see Biden polling in the high single digits at least.
Mm-hmm.
That is, Trump's not going to win the election without winning Florida. That's if I had to say two states Trump has to win. it or three states Trump has to win, it would be Ohio, Florida, and Texas. He
Yeah.
has to win those three. If he does not win any single one, he will lose the election. Because if he's losing Ohio, he definitely lost Pennsylvania and Michigan. And if he
Mhm.
loses Florida, then he's definitely going to lose Arizona and North Carolina, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, if you see my
Um,
map, I agree with you that Ohio is lost. I wouldn't say it's a lost cause just yet, but it's a loss right now. Especially you look at John Kasich now coming to the Democratic National Convention or wherever that's going to be, and he's going to talk about Biden.
yeah, and he beat Trump in the primary pretty handily. So he does have some weight in Ohio,
We're going to
and
see what that endorsement does for Biden in Ohio, but it should
yeah,
carry a lot of weight.
yeah, it should carry a lot of weight. And man, it's looking pretty bad. And it's interesting to see that your map is slowly looking like mine was 2 months ago. So
I'm behind you for the you know blowout Trump train, as I would call it. I still think it's going to be, this isn't close by any margin, but closer than what, of course, what you're trying, what your predictions is. But we'll see. Honestly, we'll see how it
mm,
turns out. But as of today, I have Biden at 352 and Trump at 186.
yeah, that's still I think that's only 8 electoral votes less than what Obama got. Years. I think the only difference is you don't have him winning Indiana and Iowa. Yeah, those are the two states you have
Yeah,
Biden losing that Obama won. Oh well, but you do have him winning Arizona. That would be 11. So yeah, I was actually right. It's around 8 electoral votes less than what Obama got, which is still impressive for
yeah,
Biden against an incumbent because Obama ran a just general election campaign against McCain, and
yeah.
McCain wasn't an incumbent.
Thank you guys for watching. If you liked our videos, please like it, of course, share, subscribe. Really appreciate that. We are making next week's video about Michigan, the election profile of Michigan. Big state in 2016, maybe not so much in 2020, but still, we'll see what makes them tick, who they're going to, our predictions on who they're going to vote for, and so on and so forth. Thank you for joining us today. Please be safe out there. Virus is still very much alive. Wear your masks, please, regardless of what some politicians may say. And that about does it. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight.